Tech Pro series has been launched since May 2020, leading a new era of high-power modules. Now, Tech Pro module has stepped into mass production stage, and due to large demand over this new model, with larger sales than previous generations, more detailed technical guide is needed by the customers in terms of logistic process, especially for the forklift handling process. This video aims to provide some safe handling guidelines and related requirements during the process of unloading operations from the containers. Both 72 cells and 78 cells Tech Pro modules are applied in this video.
Please look at the pack dimension of a stuck-up pallet, which is 2,260 mm long, 1,125 mm wide, and 2,484 mm high for 72 TR modules, and 2,441 mm long, 1,125 mm wide, and 2,484 mm high for 78 TR modules. 140 feet container contains 620 pieces of 72 cells and 486 pieces of 78 cells Tech Pro modules, which are 337.9 kilowatt and 290.2 kilowatt containerized volume. The electric forklift and platform is necessary on site during the operation, and a steel plate will be needed in some cases. Please be aware the head of the platform, which is less than 1.55 meters, should be level with the base of the container. And if the gap existed, please add a steel plate with inclined tail less than 5 degrees to fulfill the gap. For the forks of forklift, the requirements are listed below. Firstly, according to the varied models of the products, the requirements for forks length is different. If the module length is longer than 2.3 meters, the forks should be longer than 1.8 meters. If the module length is shorter than 2.3 meters, the forks should be longer than 1.6 meters at least. Secondly, the minimum fork height to the ground is lower than 85 millimeters. Thirdly, the loading weight should be larger than 2.5 tons. Fourthly, if fork thickness is less than 50 millimeters, the forklift can only lift the pallets on the short side of the cargoes. If it is larger than 50 millimeters, the forklift can lift the cargo on both short and long side. In the next part, we will introduce the procedures of how to unload the cargoes from the container on the platform. Before the unloading process, warehouse supervisor should verify the waybill of information with the container sealer. If no problem, please call the sealer and open the door, checking if there is any damage of the pallet, and then take a photo. The unloading process. Firstly, the operator should adjust the location and the angle of the steel plate to be level with the container base. Secondly, forklift needs to insert slowly into the short side of the pallet at the lowest height to the ground. Thirdly, drive forward until the fork is completely inserted in the pallet, and lift the package of modules slowly by raising up the forks. Fourthly, keep the head from the pallet to the ground less than 50 millimeters, and maintain a distance which is longer than 40 millimeters between the top of the modules and the container ceiling. Fifthly, the forklift drives backward to move the whole pallet of modules slowly to out of the container after lifting. During the operation, because the pallets are located next to each other in parallel, please keep the space between the pallets to avoid the scratches between each other. If the packing film is destroyed, please check why the package is damaged. If the carton is still in good condition, the damage of packing film is acceptable. Unloading on the flat ground base. Please note that the steel ramp has to be applied during the operation. The following steel ramp is recommended. Firstly, the horizontal section of the steel ramp should be longer than 5 meters, and the slope of the inclined section should be around 5 degrees. The head should be around 156 plus minus 4 millimeters, which is level with container base. Secondly, the loading weight of the steel ramp should be larger than 5 tons. The unloading procedures. Firstly, the operator needs to insert the forks slowly into the short side of the pallet as low its head to the ground, using the electric forklift. Drive forward until the forks are completely inserted into the pallet, and then lift the cargo modules slowly by raising up the forks. Secondly, ensure the head from the pallet to the ground less than 14 mm, and maintain the distance which larger than 14 mm between the top of modules packages and the container ceiling. Thirdly, the forklift drives backward to move the whole pallet of modules slowly to out of the container after lifting. Fourthly, when the forklift arrives at the entry of the container, please slow down and avoid the top of the module packages touch the container ceiling. If the risk is about to occur, please adjust the head of the fork immediately. Fifthly, when the cargo modules are completely away from the container, please pull out the forks completely from the pallet and replace the electric forklift by the LPG forklift and insert the long side of the pallet to carry the cargoes to the target location. Sixthly, please prevent the forks from destroying other adjacent goods and cargoes during lifting and placing the module pallets.